Welcome to My Home HQ podcast with Ray Fletcher. Leading the way in buying and selling homes, knowing the current housing market, updating your home without an extensive remodel, or how to stage your home for the perfect sale and more. Portland, Oregon real estate agent Ray Fletcher will bring his 20-plus years experience of real estate, homeownership, and selling homes to you in his bi-monthly podcast. This podcast will be your home headquarters for strategies to achieve success in your real estate investments. Now your host of the podcast, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to My Home HQ podcast with Ray Fletcher. Ray is our resident home and real estate expert in the Portland, Oregon area. We like to call him Realtor Ray, and he's here today to chat with me about all things real estate. And I'm your host, Terry Fletcher. Hey, Ray, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be out of daylight savings, and so we had to turn our clocks ahead, as you know, and I'm hearing that's going to change at some point, but we don't know when.
Yes, let's hope it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that changes myself.
Yeah, because we end up getting a little bit tired for like a couple weeks after that happens. Shoot. So today, everyone and our listeners, I want to talk to you about something that seems to come up when I hear people saying, oh no, I can afford to buy right now. And so I think it's important for Ray to kind of set the tone on that and just talk to you about that because, and we're going to kind of call this episode, did you consider all costs with your monthly mortgage payment before you kind of pulled the trigger on that and went ahead and bought your home? And we do this because we want you to be prepared and make sure that, you know, when you finally do find that home that you want to purchase, whether it be an investment property, a home you want to live in forever, or just for a little while before you move on to your next home, it's important that you consider all costs. So Ray, let me start with you. When you see people that, you know, they said they have a healthy down payment, yeah, but then you start to talk to them about, they do their own calculations and they don't seem to include some things that don't go into those, you know, Zillow calculations or Redfin. That's just, you know, mortgage, insurance, and taxes. What do you see there?
Yeah, that's extremely true. And it's always considered, do you want to be house rich, cash poor? I mean, that's really kind of the
right
rule of thumb. And you don't want to be stuck at home. You still want to have a life. And the interesting part is people, they'll buy the place, they can't afford it, and they'll buy the place saying that, well, we're going to be home now. We're going to make meals at home and do all that stuff. People don't change their lifestyle. So there's definitely some hidden fees that you have to uncover and make sure before you jump in on your biggest purchase of your life.
Well, and I think that one of the main things, and then we'll kind of move on to some things that maybe you didn't notice, and I'm talking to the listeners here. First of all, utilities,
Yeah.
Gas, electric, water, trash, and sewer. I know we were mentioning in a previous episode that if you're in a condo complex, your HOAs may, a high rise or something like that, that probably would include water, trash, and sewer. But if you're in a single family home, that's not the case, right?
Correct. And your electric bill could be, given parts of the country, over $300 to $400. If you're in a heated state like Arizona, New Mexico, you're going to have a healthy electric bill. And nowadays, not most, but a lot of people are getting into electric cars. Yes, your gas bill is down, your gasoline bill is going to be lower, but your electric bill is going to be much higher as well. So you're going to be charging your car there. So there's a lot of things that you would have to look at. Water. Most people, when they get their new home, they want a garden. And so you're going to be watering this garden. Or if now you can and have the ability to get a hot tub. Well, you're going to have to change that water out 2 times a year, or depending on the tub. And then if you're crazy and you get a pool.
Like us. See what my brother just called me, folks.
Yes. So what is that water bill? And I don't know pools well enough. I don't know if you change the water out or you just keep adding to it or what have you. But now there's that cost. And then, of course, the electric cost for a pool, the electric cost for a hot tub, all these things that you want to have because now you own a home. There's a cost in that. And that's something that has to be looked at very, very seriously.
Well, and not only that, you mentioned water, depend on what state you're in. You could have a drought and
Yeah,
be regulated by your state.
yeah,
Luckily for us in Riverside, where we are, actually our water is through the county, and so we don't fall into the state restrictions, but not everybody gets that. So, in California, oh my gosh, they tell you what days you can water your lawn, what days you can fill a pool. And I was worried that we weren't going to be able to fill our pool. But then, my husband said, well, we're not on the state grid, we're on the county grid, and we have different options there. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know what that means, but I think that sounds good.
yeah.
But I think the one thing too that people seem to forget. So first of all, when you're so you have to base your mortgage cost, I would think, on not just the purchase price, but also the new interest rates. Isn't that correct, Ray?
Yeah, the interest rates are over like 2 to 3 points higher. I think they're right now just above 7%.
What? Are they
So
that
yeah,
high?
yeah,
Holy
oh yeah,
moly.
yeah. They
Wow.
are they are up there. Today's
Well, let me
rates
ask
at
you a calculation question then, because that I had
yeah,
no idea. So this is why I love talking to you about house and real estate, because I know some of this stuff, and then all of a sudden you and I talk, and I'm like, whoa, you're much more informed, obviously, as Realtor Ray. I know
yeah,
you're going to hate that because I like my Terry Tuesday. You're going to be like, stop calling me
uh-huh,
that. But so, for example, when Summer bought her house, her new build in December of 2021, they got 2.7%. And so her mortgage, her insurance, and her what else? Taxes. Her
yep,
whole house payment is 1589 for a 4 bedroom, 2 bath, which is more than some people
right,
are paying for a 1 bedroom rent. So
yeah,
what would that
yeah.
be now with the current percentages?
So I'll
Right.
give you an example. Today's rate, annual percentage rate, you're looking at 7.1. The rate now they're showing is 6.8, but your annual percentage rate is 7.1. So if you figure a $500,000 home at 7.1, roughly, you're looking at $3,059 a month with 20% down. So I'm not, we're just going like a standard loan, good down payment.
Okay.
So 3,059 a month.
Wow,
Back
that's
in the day, when you could get it for what Summer's rate?
2.7.
So if you got it at 2.75, it's 1998 a month.
Oh my gosh, what a difference.
Yeah,
And
so
that's not even 2 years ago. That's a year and a half
no,
ago.
that's what we're dealing with. That's why the market is on a down note. And so that's what you've got to look at. I mean,
Wow.
that's the biggest factor. Now, people are going into this going, okay, I can afford the 3,000 a month. It's still a good investment. It still offsets my taxes, all the breaks you get to be a homeowner, all those things. But then one thing that you got to look at is when you do your calculations on your monthly payment, that's based on the current tax year. Now, once the house sells, it may get re-amortized and re-looked at by the city and adjusted the market value. And so your property taxes most likely will go up after the home transfers.
Oh,
So you
wow.
have to
Well,
keep you got to keep that in mind too. And like Oregon, for example, our tax rate is this like right at 0.8%. So it's less than 1%, but 1% of 500,000 when it was assessed before at like 400 or 450 or 350. Now it doesn't jump up that much because there is caps and that's based on counties, but
right.
it's definitely going to go up.
Yeah,
That's
ours is
something that has to
1%
be
here
looked at
too.
as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ours is one. So then we were talking about these costs, and this is where I think sometimes homeowners missed. I know Summer did when all of a sudden she went, "Wait, I got to pay for that?" And that should be a question that everybody should
Yeah.
say, "Wait, I got to pay for that?" So in our previous episode, we were talking about HOA. So now you add on your mortgage payment, your insurance, your taxes, and if you
Yep.
have a homeowner association, right?
Yep, correct. You got to look at the HOAs, and then you got to make sure that the HOA isn't, which they should, but let's just assume someone's going for sale by owner, and the buyer is going without an agent. Let's go kind of a worst case scenario.
Okay.
That buyer needs to make sure there isn't an HOA assessment that's being done that the seller is hiding.
There's an
Okay,
assessment with an HOA?
so yeah, so what happens is when you buy, let's say you're in a condo and the siding's bad. Well, they're going to do a full assessment on the whole complex, there's most likely not enough money in the HOA fund to replace all the siding. And so at a later date, everybody's going to get a bill for $5,000 to $10,000, let's say.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, then so there could be an assessment. Now, if you're using an agent, what happens is we know that's coming. We post it. We make it public knowledge for all the buyers. And traditionally, when that happens, the price of the house is adjusted, or that is paid at closing by the seller out of their proceeds of their equity or what have you. So, but once again, another potential hidden cost could be an HOA assessment.
Well, and that's actually really important if you're purchasing real estate as an investment when you're going to
Yeah,
rent it out. So I would think that you'd probably want to pass along maybe some of those costs to the person that's renting out your property. Couple other things when it comes to the hidden costs, and I don't want to say these are hidden, but these are anticipated costs that I don't think a lot of people realize. And they're like, "Oh no, I hear this all the time. We'll just do that ourselves." Okay, so are you a gardener? I
correct.
mean,
Yeah,
do you have the time to garden? Not just do you like to get on your lawnmower if it's a seated one and ride around the yard. It's do you edge? Do you sweep? Do you pull out weeds? And it's not just the flat grass part. I mean, I know Ray, you mow your lawn, but how
right,
much of it, it's not just mowing the lawn, right? It's
right.
gardening.
Yeah.
So,
So again, once again, a new homeowner is bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, excited. They're gonna do all these improvements. Well, first step is do you even have a mower?
right,
I mean, so
right. You
so
have a
now,
mower. Ours would
yeah,
be
let's
no. We pay for a gardener.
correct. But let's say you want to mow, you're excited to mow. Well, you got to go buy a lawnmower. You
Right.
own a shovel. I mean, again, now there's another cost in something that you've never thought about. So you have to get all those aspects as well. When you're getting into your first home, again, I think we're kind of basing this off the first home
Right.
cost. Did it come with a refrigerator? Did it come with a washer and dryer? Well, if it
Yes.
didn't, those are costs that you need almost, well, refrigerator immediately.
Right.
And so those are things to think about as well. And then kind of another spinoff would be if you're looking at the home and you're walking in, and I've never met anybody that doesn't go, "Oh, I'm going to take that wall out," which is, it
It's
sounds
really
great.
funny.
I like it. I mean, it's funny when people say it.
They're watching too much TV.
You don't just take a wall out. But let's
Right.
say you can. Who's taking that wall out?
Right. Who's doing it?
And how much money did you bank for that? And again, most people have. I mean, again, most people look into these things, but it's the side stuff that they have to buy before they can even take that wall out that need to be brought to the attention.
Right. And for example, we have gardeners and
Yep.
we pay $145 a month for a gardener. But
Yeah.
now we have a pool man and
Right.
that's $150 a month, people. For those of you that are wondering, they do the skimming, the chemicals, and all that. But we had to supply the equipment. They supply the chemicals, but we had to supply all the equipment they use to skim the pool, the netting,
Yeah.
things like that. I didn't realize that. So that's another cost. Water softener. That's $30 a month. Terminex just came. They're quarterly, just to make sure you have pest control. And this is just, we're not talking about, rodents. We're talking about, well, I mean, you are, depending on where you
Yeah.
are, but we were just talking about we don't want ants. We're in a
Yep.
very hot climate here, and ants find their way to a cooler place. So you want to make sure that you have that as well. But now I've just added $30 for water softener, $99 a quarter for Terminex. And even though you think, oh, that's not a big deal, think about what Ray was just saying as far as that $3,000 house payment. Yes, that included your insurance and taxes. Now maybe you have a 250 HOA, plus you've got maybe a gardener at 145, a poolman at 140, a water softener at 30, Terminex at 99. We've just added well, we didn't, but costs can add up
Yeah.
to 4 to 500 more. And we haven't even gotten to cable yet. Or, if you're a football fan, you're going to want to have your NFL ticket, or,
Right.
the baseball ticket, or if you want a paper, that's still $10 a month. But here's a big thing, right? What about internet? There's some
Yeah.
places where you can't get the company you want, or you can't get strong internet. And have you found that to be a problem?
Yes. I mean, well, It used to be a bigger problem. Now, Elon has, I mean, hate him or love him or hate him,
I love
he
that
has
guy. I
created
just love what he's doing.
he has created Starlink, and so pretty much anybody can get internet, and it's relatively affordable for the speeds he's doing. But yeah, internet, you see it on the news or the commercials all the time. Lock into this price, lock into this price. Well, those locked in prices are traditionally very, very slow speeds. You could watch Netflix, but the whole family can't watch Netflix at the same time in their individual rooms. So internet's going to cost you, as we both know, or most people know that are listening to this, 65 a month for fiber. Well, at least here in Oregon, it's 65 a month for fiber. That's 65 a month for just internet.
For just internet, yeah.
Do you want to use it? Well, now you're going to have some sort of TV package.
Do you want to use it? That was really good. You're
Right.
like, just to get it.
Yeah. So it's it's expensive to live.
Well, and the other thing people keep in mind, at the last, I don't know who did the poll. I think it was Bloomberg, but 40% of the country is working from home. And
Oh yeah.
they can do that because that we have the option to work virtually because of the internet. So remember when, because of the pandemic, everybody was at home. Your kids were on the computer doing their homework and trying to get taught their lessons, and mom and dad came home to work. Well, not everybody went back. So that pulls when you have computer internet, and you need that, and that has to be strong, especially if you're going into and accessing external files, external video things. And I'm in healthcare, so telehealth is also, you need strong internet for that. But have you run into that, Ray, where people are like, well, I also work from home. I know they want a home working space, but the internet for that.
Yes, for sure. That's becoming common now. So they have to get the higher tiered internet, the secured internet, and the whole thing. Yep, for
Right.
sure.
So now we just want to kind of lay it out for you. Definitely come in with a checklist, because I think that if you go in with a little bit of blinders, and we really want you to own that home or have that investment property. I'm all about the investments, and I love that, especially in real estate. But think about, and I think, Ray, you put it the best way. What kind of lifestyle do you lead? And no judgment here, just what do you lead, and what are you willing to change, modify, or not change? Are you going to do your own gardening where you don't have that, but then there is a cost in getting the equipment? Are you going to maintain your pool, but you have to get the equipment and the chemicals, or have somebody do it? And just going back into just the little stuff, water softener, pest control. One thing that happened to us recently is all of a sudden I'm like, why is my water pressure in my brand new shower terrible? And it was because one of the water regulators went out. So the city came out, they told us what it was, and said, okay, so see ya. And we're like, wait, don't you fix that? They're like, oh no, this is something you
Right.
have to do. And so we actually have to purchase the regulator separately, which is about $400 to $500. And then we have to go find somebody that can install it.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
250 an hour, minimum 2 hours. So it's like,
Right.
okay, there's
Yeah.
a
You have to look
$1,000.
at the basic maintenance of the home. You're going
Right,
to replace a toilet at some point. You're going to replace a garbage disposal. A dishwasher will go out, and
right.
all these factors will happen at some point. Now, things don't break all the time, and I don't want it to be. I mean,
We don't
all
want
of
to be
this is
discouraging, right?
yeah. So on another note, some of these things you pay anyways when you don't own a home as a renter. As a renter, if you wanted pest control, you'd probably pay it. Now, gardening, it could come with your rent if you're renting a home or a landscaping service. So some of those factors do carry over, but it's just a matter of the basic maintenance of the home. When you buy this house, you're going to have that inspection report basically with a checklist of things that need to be done. And the sellers aren't doing the honeydew list, the weekend warrior projects like replacing screens or things like that, or cleaning out the gutters or those type of factors. Now, if the roof is shot, they would most likely replace it, but they only have to replace it based on it can't get a 5-year certification. So if you're going into a home and the roofer says, yeah, it's got 5 years left, well, and most likely it has 5 to 10, but that is going to happen. And you do need to put that in your budget every single month, that you're going to need a roof at some point. And that's just a cost of owning a home.
Right. So when you own a home, I know I've had my daughter do this. I said, you don't just need a savings account that you put into every month for yourselves, for Christmas or whatever. You need to have a savings account for the household. So things that could come up, things you're going to have to possibly repair later on, things that are not under warranty anymore, things like that. So
Right.
we just want you to go in with your eyes open. And I won't even get started on housekeepers. Some of you are like, oh no, I'll clean my own house. No, I'm not doing
Right.
that. So, my
Right.
housekeepers are pretty expensive for what I think, because they travel so far to get here. But that's another expense. So just make sure that when you're going out there and you're, looking for that home, that you definitely are keeping that in mind, that it's not just the mortgage and taxes and utilities. There's so many things that, and again, we don't want to call them hidden costs. They're just the cost of doing business, I guess, is the best way to do it, cost to live. But Ray, I
Yeah.
have one last question, and before we complete today, how much of this, if you are purchasing an investment property, and whether it be single home or condo, how much can you pass along to that renter that you want them to help absorb some of that cost, or how much is it really your responsibility to own the home? How much can you
Yeah.
offset?
You can pass on as much as you can get away with. So, I mean, it's real. It's
That's
really
awesome.
it's really a matter of what's the market bear for rent. I mean, if you live in an area that you can get, so an example would be here, a 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom. I just sold an investment property to a friend of mine. 4 bedroom, 2.5 bath. He got it for 505,000, and
Okay.
he's getting 2,800 a month.
Okay.
And so
And here
he,
that would be about 4,800 a month.
yeah, and he's paying for, obviously any maintenance on the home he has to pay for. So he's a landlord. So if the garbage disposal goes out, he's got to pay it. If the toilet, he's got to pay it. And I don't think he's covering landscaping on that. I do think he gives them the option of getting it themselves or leaving them a lawnmower.
Okay.
So there's those type of factors. And then another, my mother-in-law's place is rented, and they pay for landscaping because it's a huge yard and they don't want it to go to heck with that much yard and somebody just not paying attention. And it doesn't cost enough. It's definitely a good investment for the homeowner to get that done, because you are protecting your investment as well, and that's a cost of the property. So when you're doing your taxes, you are offsetting that on the income anyway. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with investments and how much you're willing to pay.
So there are some write-offs and positives on that you can also
Yeah, and you
offset.
know what you're kind of having. I mean, if you know I don't know if you know your landscapers on a first name basis, but if
We
you
do,
did,
Alex.
they could call you and go, "Hey, just want to give you a heads up. There's some weird stuff going on in your house." So you now you've got some eyes and ears that are at the place mowing the lawn, because you can't just walk on your tenant's property. You need to give them ample notice.
Oh,
So,
right.
so yeah, so there's some benefits in that as well.
Oh,
Things
that's
to keep.
awesome.
Yeah,
No, I like that. Well, I think this is great because I think hopefully this brought to our listeners a lot of information where they're like, maybe I need another month to save, or they're thinking, you know what, I got it covered and I appreciate the checklist. And it's just really important to just really have that checklist in front of you and understand what the costs are so that you're not surprised later. I mean, no, like Ray said, you don't want to be house poor, regardless of why you're purchasing. You want to make sure that you've got things covered for maintenance, for costs that are constant, and then also obviously for your mortgage and making sure you're paying for that. So thank you, Ray, for joining me again today. And I think
sure.
this is a great episode.
Sounds great. Thank you.
So that's it for us this week on My Home HQ podcast. Join us next time when we're going to talk about investing. We really want to get people excited about investing. We know that the interest rates are high right now, but Ray's going to come with some insights on, really what to do with that and where you're going. And it's real estate isn't just about a house. So we're going to talk about some things there that hopefully will help you. So we're going to try to bring you more topics on real estate, home buying, investing, selling, and more. Drop us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcast. So everyone, make it a great rest of your month, and thank you for listening to My Home HQ podcast with Ray Fletcher.
Thank you for listening to My Home HQ podcast with Ray Fletcher. Drop us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website and blog at www.rayfletcher.biz or contact Ray directly at realtorrayf@gmail.com to also subscribe to his weekly newsletter.